Yeah, just a brief item to cover, in anticipation of wanting to keep this afternoon's session short. One of the items that we discussed a couple of weeks ago was the fact that it's time to renew our coverage with Washington County's risk pool. And one of the things that we've been looking at is, with the good assistance from risk pool staff, did some analysis of what it would do to our premiums if we were to increase the county's deductible from $10,000 to $25,000. And what they found is that we would, based on our claims history and, you know, if past average annual claims per year were to continue, and you look at how many claims are more than $10,000, that we would, up to $25,000 that we would now be paying out of pocket, that when you look at our past history of those kinds of claims and deduct that against the savings that we would have on our premium, that we would have a potential net savings of between $17,000 and essentially $40,000, depending on how you calculate that. However, what that's saying is, on the low end, it would just take essentially one additional claim of $25,000 or more to eat up those savings in any 1 year. And also, we are required to keep to have a risk management reserve to make sure that we always can, you know, if there's an extraordinary year where we have more of these claims than you would anticipate, that you have enough to pay for it. And that's something that the pool would require us to do, and you look at sort of doing a statistical or actuarial analysis. We would need to, we currently keep $162,000 in reserve. We would need to increase that up to probably around just shy of $300,000. And so you're looking at needing to dedicate an additional $135,000 roughly into reserves that couldn't be used for anything else. So you're looking at, well, we could save at the low end about one claim's worth if one came in the door. And at the same time, you're having to set aside over $100,000 of additional reserves. So at this point, not recommending that we go that route, sticking with the $10,000 deductible. In these times when we don't have a lot of fund balance that we want to be reserving in this way, doesn't seem like the time to do this. At some point down the road, if our claims history does a little bit better, so that the likelihood of us to exceed our past pattern of claims above 10,000 would the risk would seem diminished, and when and if we have additional fund reserve that we could put into a risk management reserve, then it might make sense to do that. But in my judgment, now is not the time.
Okay. Yeah. It would be nice to have that reserve and collect the interest on it.
Yeah. And I'd also like to acknowledge that Lorna Delaney and Ann Sears took a look at the numbers the pool gave us and gave some thought, and this is their recommendation as well, and would like to appreciate the work that Lorna and Ann did on this.
Okay, great. Are we going to be meeting with risk pool people? They come in about every year. And
yeah. And I believe it's been scheduled, and I've forgotten which date it is. Do you happen to know, Aaron?
Okay, but it's coming.
Yeah.
All right.
And it'll be, I believe that it goes on our regular agenda, as
Right.
something that people can see and anticipate.
Yeah, we usually do it Monday morning. Okay. Anything else? Okay, well, our next agenda item is a proclamation at 10 a.m. Well, and at 10:05. We have a couple of them coming up. And then presentation by WSU at 10:10. So we'll have a brief recess and go back into session at 10 a.m.
Yeah.